Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new Disrupt Gaming Call of Duty video. Today we're going over the top 10 tips in Warzone that you need to be using right now in order to improve your game by that extra step. Today we have 10 tips that are some of the best in the game. I've done a ton of research for this video, so go ahead and drop a like right now as we head into tip number 1. This first one's a pretty basic one. We're going to start out easy and then as we go on, go to the more advanced tips, but this one is to instantly go for your loadout. Loadouts in Warzone, I'm sure you know, are extremely important, so getting this as soon as you can is one of the most important things that you can do in this game. Now, in order to do this, we have an extra tip kind of tacked onto this one, and that's to do contracts. I see way too many players that decide not to go and do the contracts that are in Warzone, which is a detriment to their gameplay. Whether it's a most wanted contract or even a scavenger contract, these give you so much money, which will help you get your loadout faster, get you extra loot, and whatever else you want to buy. Now, getting your loadout won't really matter if you can't use it correctly, which is why tip number 3 is going to be positioning. Positioning is one of those things that not many people talk about, but is probably one of the most important things in really any shooter game that you will ever play. When I say positioning, I don't only just mean where you're positioned during fights, I mean during fights and outside of fights. Knowing where the closest cover is that you can go to plate up or whatever you need to do. And also during fights, knowing exactly where you're at and where your opponent's at and kind of thinking during that fight whether the area that you're in is advantageous to yourself. For instance, I see way too many times people just pushing up staircases where the enemy has a major positioning advantage, but they do it anyway. Instead, these players should be pushing them from the side, trying to get above them, doing anything they can to be unpredictable with their positioning so that they don't die because of this stupid mistake. Now, number 4, we have finding your sensitivity. This is another underrated one. Finding your sensitivity is extremely important in all games, but Warzone specifically because it's a weird game to play with sensitivity. The reason I'm saying this is because there are a lot of situations where you need to flick around and do a full 180 quickly, but also players can be very far away and you need to somehow shoot at them also. Not many games are like this. For instance, if you play Counter-Strike, enemies are going to be either close, medium, or kind of far away. They're not going to be 400 meters out. You're not going to have to be trying to hit shots like that, whereas in Warzone, you are going to have to be trying to hit shots like that. So to find your sensitivity, I would recommend doing a swipe on your mouse pad, a full swipe, and doing the 180 rule. What the 180 rule is when you do that full swipe, your character should turn at least 180 degrees around. This means that you'll be able to instantly swipe around to where the enemies are if they are behind you, but also at the same time, this keeps it low enough to where you can easily pinpoint enemies that are far away. Heading into tip number 5 though, we have aim. Aim is just as important as finding your sensitivity, if not more. And practicing your aim is another one of those things that people just don't do in Warzone. It's common in a lot of other games, but people aren't practicing their aim while they're playing or before they play in Warzone. In Warzone, headshots are extremely important, and this is really the main point of this tip, is that your aim isn't just trying to hit the enemies, it's trying to hit the enemies in the head, because if you can hit headshots and your enemy can't, you are going to win that fight basically no matter what weapons are being used and what situation you're in. This is why aiming for the head and working on that aim outside of Warzone is extremely important. One way you can do this is with third-party aim trainers such as Kovacs. You can go into here, find your sensitivity for Warzone, and then go ahead and practice within that so that you can refine your aim that much more. So far, we are halfway through this video and we've given 5 of the best tips and we have 5 more to go. So if you have enjoyed so far, hit that subscribe button and the like button so that you can keep up with some of the best Disrupt Gaming Call of Duty content on all of YouTube. Now, into tip number 6, which is Peeker's Advantage. I've seen this talked about a lot more recently, but back in the day, this one was a pretty unknown one. This is in a lot of first-person shooters, and there's a graphic on screen right now that helps to illustrate exactly what Peeker's Advantage is. Peeker's Advantage is a phenomenon in Warzone and many other shooter games because of the way the netcode is. Not only are you connecting to the Warzone servers, but your opponent is also connecting to them, which gives this weird latency issue. Now, Peeker's Advantage is basically whenever you're looking at an angle from a distance, you're going to be able to see around that angle sooner because the enemy player has shoulders and legs that are being seen before their head can get around the corner. This is even a thing in real life if you think about it. If your shoulder is peeking out from a corner, someone is going to be able to see you even if your head is not all the way through that corner. So this does make sense, but basically to use this to your advantage, you need to be playing angles from far away. If you can get further away from an angle than your opponent, you're automatically at an advantage because you're going to see them faster, and if you have an 100 millisecond advantage, you can maybe get a couple extra bullets into them, which will honestly help you win that fight 9 times out of 10. And another way to win fights 9 times out of 10 is tip number 7, which is pre-firing. This is something that I see pros do very often, but I don't see the regular common player performing this tip. Basically, when you pre-fire something, you just want to jump around the corner, shoot at whatever you're pre-firing if you think an enemy could be there. Obviously, don't run around just shooting everything, but for instance, if you see someone on your UAV and you think they could be up above you, maybe jump up that staircase and instantly start shooting, even if you can't see them just yet, because odds are you will end up hitting them with your bullets just by how you know where they are positioned. This is especially useful in close quarter combat and buildings and stuff like that, because you can pre-fire these corners and then odds are you'll get those hits, you can keep shooting, they won't know what to do because you seem like you're hacking. Tip number 8 is play smart. Now, I know this one sounds dumb, but I promise it's not. When I say play smart, the main thing that I'm talking about here is don't just push everything. This is something that I see especially with new Warzone players, is they see an enemy, they see any situation, and they decide to run directly in as fast as they can without taking anything into consideration. This is exactly what you don't want to do. Do not be pushing just everything. You want to sit back, sometimes determine if this situation is worth fighting, and even fall off if you do need. If you're low on health, maybe you don't have the best guns, and you rush into a fight knowing you're probably going to die, you're going to be losing a lot more of your games, rather than if you were to fall off, maybe go try and get more loot, or just play it literally any other way than just running directly in. Now, number 9 and 10 is something that I have been doing a lot recently, and that is playing with teammates. When you play with teammates, not only are you getting better, but they are also, and you can learn from them. This is tip number 9 and 10 combined into one. Basically, if you play with your teammates, you can play with some people that are better than you and worse than you and learn from them. I love spectating some of my better teammates so that I can see exactly what they're thinking and what they do in certain situations. That way, next time I'm in a similar situation, I have that in the back of my head and I can do that same thing. Also, it is just a lot more fun to play with teammates because you get into way bigger fights, and if you can get into more engagements per game, you will instantly start to improve because the more fights you get into, the more experience you get, the better that you will get. That is our final tip in this 10 tips that you need to know in Warzone that hopefully are going to bring your game to that next level. Drop a comment down below and let me know which tip you thought was the most helpful and maybe which one was the least helpful as well. Thank you all for watching to the very end of this Disrupt Gaming Call of Duty guide. It is Carnage, and I will see you in the next one.